I'm Jillian, and this is Sparked by Scripture, and I hope you're enjoying your July 4th weekend. I hope you have some fun firework activities planned. I know my household does. My husband loves fireworks. Um, and I didn't plan on making another video this week. However, Anthropic's Claude dropped a new model called Fable 5. And if you're unfamiliar with AI, there's different models, and the basis of why are there different ones is like how difficult of the task it can deal with. And you go, well, wouldn't I would just want the one that's capable of doing hard tasks for everything? But the ones that are capable of hard tasks, they use more tokens is kind of the verbiage, but they like use more power, they use more resources. So if you're just asking it a simple Google question, you can just use an easier model, get to like the simple question. Like if you asked it, what's 4 plus 4? Really a waste of time to ask any model other than their base model to do a simple math equation like that. Um, so you really try to tier out which one you use based off of the difficulty of the task you're asking it. Um, Usually I use Opus, but there's Haiku is the lowest for Anthropic Claude. The second one is Sonnet, and then Opus is the third level. That's usually what I use. I've run into, I might be using Sonnet, and then there's just so much turnaround and going in loops, and it just irritates me. So Opus is what I usually use. And I haven't run out of tokens because I haven't used it too much, but every platform too has that. That's not just Anthropic Claude type thing. You'll see that with ChatGPT. I don't use that as much anymore. It's what I started with and what I used for a long time. But recently, the government was trying to partner with Anthropic originally to use AI within government things. And Anthropic came back with the agreement saying, hey, we need 2 conditions. We want to make sure it's not used for weapons and not used for surveillance. And the government couldn't sign off on that. So Anthropic left the deal, and OpenAI, which owns ChatGPT, said, we'll take the deal without any of those guardrails. And I understand the business side of that, and I understand that. But I will say it does make me trust Claude a little bit more because it seems like they have a little bit more of like the artificial intelligence integrity and philosophy kind of under wraps in a better way than OpenAI might, but I could be wrong. But that's where I switched from ChatGPT to Claude, by the way. But Claude has the new Fable model, and I wanted to talk about that today. And we're actually going to run a little test on it if it lets us. So they have safeguards, as they mentioned, also cybersecurity. Mythos has less safeguards, and so it allows people to, with cybersecurity, to kind of like work with it and test and learn more. And you have to get very special sign-offs to use Mythos, but yeah, that's what they're talking about. That's what they're talking about right here. Here's what I think is cool. So they're evaluating Fable 5 and Claude Mythos 5. The ChatGPT 5.5, I think 5.5 Pro is the most recent one, but you can see agentic coding, it just outpasses them. Knowledge outpasses them. Not too much here. And from what I saw too, it's a little bit better at doing things without you describing, hey, you could just say, hey, I want you to design this PowerPoint for this presentation for this audience. And without you having to go like, this is the structure it should be, this is what you should have on each slide. It's a little better at like intuitively understanding what you would be asking, if that makes sense. I don't know if you've used AI, but there's sometimes where you're like, no, that's not what I meant. And so it seems like Fable 5 is a little bit better at anticipating what you might mean. But its output is a step above Opus, but probably isn't anything super far crazy above it. And so what we're gonna do is I have this Christian bot that we set up when we ranked all the AI last time, and I asked it to, when you get an MDiv, you have to like defend your beliefs. At least that's just my understanding of kind of how that sets up. Is you're asked a bunch of questions, yada yada. And so I asked it to kind of form like some questions that you would be asked during that time and then consolidate it into one. It is several questions in one, but I'm wondering if I just send it this, it says question, but there's like several parts of it. It's like when you're on a test in school and they're like, oh, it's just, there's only 4 questions, but they all have like 5 parts. So it's like 20 questions. So it's going to ask this. It's related to Romans 5, 12 to 21. All right, we're going to read the passage from that question first. Romans 5, 12 through 21. Therefore, just as sin came into the world through one man, and death through sin, so death spread to all men, because all sinned. For sin indeed was in the world before the law was given. But in that CSB that I read earlier, I don't think I have any other version in here. I might have the King James. Bible Gateway is great, except it shows ads, and there's ads of things I don't want shown. So, anyway. Oh, I'm trying to zoom in, and it's not doing that. Okay. Let's go here. I want you to be able to read this. Okay. Therefore, 5:12. Wherefore, as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin, so death passed upon all men, for that all have sinned, because all sinned. It's this word here. So I think it's asking it like, okay, we have a sentence here that says, death spread to all men because all sinned. But at this point, we're talking about Adam and how death came through one man and through his sin. I think that's what the question's getting at. All right, I originally had a longer question, and then I got through like 10 minutes of recording, and I had barely got through the simplest version's response. So we simplified the question to these few steps and also gave it a word limit so it's not just me scrolling forever. And it's because it's smaller, I can now use the Bible Study Assistant and maybe get a faster answer. Okay, so Bible Study Assistant just refuses to make a stance. So Bible Study Assistant works well, but we can already see it has a little bit of its own limitations. It refuses to just take a stance on which of these makes the most sense. And just because an AI says that it makes the most sense doesn't mean that you have to make that your stance also. AI isn't God, but I think it's realistic if you have sources that you should be able to pick somewhere stand. So now that we have that, let's go to haiku and we'll try it out. See what it gives us. On the last sonnet, the same question to see what it gives us. I already like this sentence makes more sense. It even, when you're in school and they told you to like repeat part of the question in your answer, haiku didn't do that. It was just like causal reading. What question are you even answering? I have to go scroll up and go, okay. It says, I take it as because you're causal, which I guess reason. Paul's. This is a good reason. Yeah, they both said apostolic authority. I like this because it answers the question about Pelagius versus Augustine without going into what it doesn't believe about Pelagius's beliefs, but just literally analyzes them based off of this one passage, which is what the question was getting at. Uncompelled work. Okay, let's see what Opus does. Okay, so this one also said federal, the same thing that Sonnet said. I think, oh, it also said that. Representative standing. This says federal with real sympathies. The driving exegetical fact insists death reigned over those who did not sin after the likeness of Adam's transgression, severing death from personal imitation, requiring a representative ground. Cost you Paul's own asymmetry. Let's see what Fable says. I haven't asked Fable anything. It's taking a little bit longer to work than the other ones did. I also had 1% of my Claude usage done last night, so we'll see what it looks like after this. Each one of them said like this same sentence, which is funny. Yes, on the clause. This one's the only one that brought in slyly that winning the clause isn't winning the passage. At least I didn't notice it in these ones. I don't know that the rest said anything. Yeah. But I figured out how to say it in the 50 word limit. People between Adam and Moses died. Ooh, yeah. Okay. So I'm interested in settings. I want to look at usage. Okay, I'm only at like 4%. Okay. I want to figure out a better way to trick it. So I don't know that this shows greatly how different each of these are, but Fable 5 does seem promising. I don't know that this test really showed a lot of differences between the models because they each answered pretty well. Though you could see like the sonnet and opus a little bit better than haiku. Um, I have one more thing I'm gonna try here to get it to test. This is a test I saw on Reddit. I drive because it's mostly cloudy. Okay, this is a better test than what I did. This is a better test than what I did. And here actually does point out what Fable can do. Once we get to it, Fable obviously if I said the sentence to you, if I said should I walk, you'd be like to the car wash? No, you should take your car. But all these other models are just analyzing the weather and going, yeah, you should or shouldn't walk because it's rainy outside. Here, Opus finally pointed out a car wash only helps if you bring the car. If it's a self-serve place you want to just walk, Okay, let's see what Fable does here. So it actually remembered what kind of car my husband and I have, which is funny. We have a Frontier, Nissan Frontier. By the way, if you want to, we have an off-roading channel. You can check it out. But it's called Expedition B. So that question, better than any of the theological stuff, was starting to hurt my head a little bit, if I'm being honest. But that question right there should show you the difference between the models. Fable obviously understood like the underlying question of should I walk. The other ones were just like, I don't know if I'd walk out in the weather right now. When obviously I'm talking about the car wash. Obviously I should not walk to the car wash because anyway. But it is cool that each of them pulled in the weather. Hopefully that gives you a good overview of what the different models are capable of. Um, Mess around with it. Show me anything cool that you see with Fable. I'm scared of my usage. I'm scared to look at it. Not too bad. But hopefully that's a fun video. You got to see the capability of the different models.